It started very young for you. You were barely one and burned in a fire. Tell us about that. How did that happen?
Well, I was placed before the coal fire, and my mum, unfortunately, she forgot to put the guard up against the fire, and tragically, she went next door to have a cup of tea with a friend, and a piece of coal actually fell out of the fire onto the carpet, and within minutes, the house was ablaze.
Oh my!
And as a result, I was horrifically burnt. I've got partially amputated feet. I've got 65% burns to the body. I lost my left fingers on my left hand, and I was in hospital for about 3.5 years. I've been reconstructive surgery.
3.5 years. In hospital.
In and out, yeah.
When you grew up in those formative years, you know, you knew that something was different about you. You had this accident. What kind of impact did that have on your heart, on your mind, on your soul?
A hopeless situation, really. No real vision,
Right.
no real encouragement, no real sense of purpose. And all I could do really was look at my crippleness. And, you know, when you look at your crippleness, it's very difficult to see anything else, you know, and out of the darkest places, you know, Kerry, is a guy, Mephibosheth, who not only was crippled physically, but he also lived in a similar culture, a place called Lodabar, which was a desolate place, a barren place. They used to send prisoners and ex-priests to that place. And so, you know, growing up in this atmosphere, in this environment, it can cripple people. And I'm sure there's viewers who are watching who are experiencing similar to what we're sharing here.
Yeah, and maybe it's not that they had some kind of physical thing happen, but it was just, hey, I was born on the wrong side of the tracks, and nobody ever believed in me, and my parents had their own issues. And so, like Mephibosheth, you had a physical issue, but also just all these odds stacked against you as a child. So that led you in your teen years into just a downward cycle.
Exactly.
Pick up the story there. What happened?
Well, at 15 years of age, I was attacked by a gang of youths. A friend of mine was stabbed in the back, and I was stabbed in my arm. The guy went to stab me in my chest. I moved. The knife went so deep that it severed the tendons in my arm. As a result, I lost the use of this arm for 2.5 years.
Wow. So you don't have full use of your left arm or left hand, and now you've lost your right.
I'm crippled.
Wow.
Yeah, and so you can imagine to try and escape the past, to try and escape that adversity, the memories. I turned to drink and drugs, which lie to you basically. They tell you that the past is gone, but it hasn't. It comes back even more with a furious force. And yeah, I struggled from 15 all the way through to my 20s with these problems. My dad was a gambler, and so I picked up gambling, and so it was basically just living an hopeless existence with no real hope, just day to day, just trying to get through, survive. I ended up on the streets. I've slept on in alleyways, benches, train stations, you know, and I ended up in a total mess. At 24 years of age, I was a hit and run victim, where I was left for dead in the middle of the road.
So burned, stabbed, and then hit and run and left for dead. The guy left.
I was left for dead. He shot off, and I've got a fractured skull, bust femur. My body was bust up. I was back in hospital, and I was actually asking the question, why me?
Well, yeah, I mean, you would have to ask that
Be a good
question,
title of
right?
a book, that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, why me? Yeah, if anyone has the right to ask that question, I think you have the right to ask that question. So you decided at one point it wasn't worth living, and you attempted suicide.
Well, the thing is, my father committed suicide when I was 27. It was basically a downward spiral. I ended up standing on a bridge, looking over, and it was about 80-foot drop. And I thought, in a few seconds, the past will be gone. I won't be stuck in the past anymore. But incredibly, I looked to my right and there was a block of flats. And my mum, she lived in these flats on the 5th floor. And I stepped back and I went to my mum's flat. And I tell you, Kerry, something happened to me in my mum's front room, a tiny front room, that has totally transformed my life.
Wow.
I gave my life to Jesus on the telephone.
So how did that happen? How did that happen?
My mum, she didn't know what to say to me because, you know...
Did she know it was you?
Yeah, my mum, she didn't know what to say to me because I was so broken. I'd never really opened up to my mum in that way before. And so she rang my sister, who lived a few miles away. And my sister had become a follower of Jesus 8 weeks previous. And so she's born again. She's telling me over the telephone that Jesus can change my life. She said to me, Peter, God has got a plan for your life and he loves you. And so I surrendered to Jesus on that telephone.
Wow. Was that the first time you ever experienced anything like that?
First time.
Wow.
Never been to church really, apart from funerals and weddings, but I really felt the Holy Spirit when I cried out to God. I just said a simple prayer, I'm a sinner, I need you, Lord. Come and do something with this ruined life. And I felt God enter. I felt the Holy Spirit come and make his home in my heart from that day. In fact, I went to church that night and I went forward after the pastor called people to come down for prayer. And I'll never forget the song they played in the background. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, I once was blind, but now I see. God had opened up my eyes to the truth that Jesus is alive.
Wow.
And today I'm free from drugs, I'm free from booze, gambling, even smoking cigarettes. Got a beautiful wife. You know, I've been involved in 2 fires. The first one tried to destroy me, but the second one set me ablaze for Jesus.
Wow.
That's the sort of fire you want.
That is a great way to look at it. And you know what's so powerful too is that was a few decades ago now that you had that
24
conversion
years.
experience. 24 years that you've surrendered your life to Christ. And I mean, even when we were getting ready for this, I mean, it's not like the physical issues disappeared. You still have to live with the effects of the stabbing and being run over and the burns every day, but he set you free, which is great.
Yeah, I'm free psychologically. Forgiveness is an amazing weapon against the enemy, and God, He forgave me, so God encouraged us through the Bible to forgive others.
And so you began to forgive the people.
I began to forgive the people, forgave my parents, forgave the guy that stabbed me, forgave the guy that ran me over, and forgave my dad for what he did in terms of taking his life. And forgiveness is liberating.
Yes. And
to be honest with you, it's a lot of my recovery is down to forgiving others and forgiving what people have, how people have impacted on my life.